Now, your character needs a goal in every scene. If they do not have a goal, they're being reactive to what's happening around them. Now, something may happen that they're in shock about and they're reacting for part of a scene or maybe an entire scene. But usually you want them to have a goal in that scene. Now, all of you guys have learned to never use passive sentences. I've used them twice in my books, and I had it when the character was literally just responding. And it creates, if you do a string of passive sentences, it feels like the world is just kind of flowing around the character. And it's very strong, but you don't want to do it for more than a paragraph or two. Now, not only does the character have a goal in every single scene, they also have a goal that overarches the first half of the book, which is the pursuit of the lie. So in Confessions of a Shopaholic, Betty Bloomquist has messed up her life through shopping. Now, her goal is rooted in her lie. She thinks she just needs more money. The truth is, she needs to be honest with herself and others about her addiction to shopping, but she doesn't start to realize that until the 50% point. So each scene of the first half is usually just pursuing the lie, and she's trying to get a better paying job, she's trying to pay off debts, but each of her goals serve her overarching goals. So back to Sam, our cocky, smart sixth grader. In the first of the half of his story, he'd be trying to decide how to take care of the bully himself. So in one scene, he's watching YouTube videos on kickboxing. In another scene, he's paying his friend's older brother to teach him karate. And in a third scene, he's lying to his parents so they don't find out. He has a goal in every scene, but it's always in pursuit of the lie, and he needs to fight this bully on his own. Your setup prepares the groundwork for the catalyst or the inciting incident that is going to jolt your protagonist out of Act 1 and into Act 2. Now, at this point, Aladdin finds out that Jasmine is a princess, totally outside his reach. And he gets arrested, which is a great inciting incident. And so this jolts him out of where he was, and he has to start his journey. Now, at this point, there may be some debate. Now, some characters will debate a long time, like Bilbo in Lord of the Rings has a lot of debate. Dwarves have plenty of time to eat up his food and sing a long song about Bilbo's plights before he finally decides to go on the journey with them. Harry Potter goes with Hagrid immediately. In Treasure Island, once Jim finds the map, he talks to the doctor and his counselors, and he is ready to go. So get into your character's head. Show, don't tell. What causes your character to take this job, agree to this marriage, or start this journey? Now, Aladdin, he does not debate much at all. He sees his opportunity to get the position he thinks he needs, and he takes it. Now, one most important piece about Act 2. Act 2 is the complete opposite of Act 1. In Act 1, Aladdin was a poor street rat. In Act 2, he is the opposite. It's inside out. He is Prince Ali. In Act 1, Harry Potter is a normal kid. In Act 2, Harry Potter is the famous boy who survived. Act 1, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy are just normal kids in a normal world. And in Act 2, they are the chosen four, the future kings and queens of Narnia. Now, there's also an opposite going on in the character's world. Act 1, Aladdin's just on the common streets. In Act 2, he is in the palace. Act 1, Harry Potter is just living in a normal house on a normal street in England. Act 2, magical school for wizards. Act 1, the Provenzi children are in the English countryside. And Act 2, a magical world that is under 100-year curse. Now this launches us into Act 2. starting with what's called fun and games, which may not look fun or game-like if you're Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games being thrust into the arena, or it may look very fun and game-like, like for Aladdin, who meets a genie and has his wishes granted. Now, the other huge thing that happens at the beginning of Act 2 is the introduction of the B story. Now, I'm not sure why it's called the B story, because it's actually their need for truth. It is the theme. It's been there the entire time. It is their internal struggle. However, if the character were telling you his story, he would tell you the A story. Aladdin would say, I'm going to go and I'm going to woo Princess Jasmine. But as the writer, I would say the B story is the real story. And that is how Aladdin needs to learn the truth, that he does not need money, power, and position to win in life. So your B story is starting to show the theme. They rejected it around 5% in, but now it's back. Your character thought they had it all figured out, but now we are introducing the real journey that they have to start on, which must start as an internal journey. And we start by adding the Act 2 characters who will help them learn that internal journey, like Genie in Aladdin. And it is these B story characters that are going to force the lie out. If Edmund had not met the White Witch, he would not have been tempted to betray his own siblings. These characters or archetypes can be mentors, antagonists, or allies. And we will talk about the archetypes in a couple minutes. Now, in Aladdin, it is an ally mentor character, the genie, that helps him pursue his lie. And if he'd not met the genie, he'd not have been able to pursue it. And so what these Act 2 characters draw out is already in the hero, but it gives them the opportunity. And our hero is off pursuing his lie, and it's going to go up or down for him until we reach the 50% point. Now, this brings us up to the 50% point, which is the turning point. And one of two things is going to happen. Either your character is going to attain some of their want or the lie and have a false victory, but it is not going to bring them what they thought it would because it's not their need. Or they are going to suffer a defeat and finally start getting glimpses of the theme. Now, Aladdin has a little bit of both. He is scoring victory with Jasmine, but she wants the real person. And this is vocalized by Genie, who says, be yourself. Of course, Aladdin is still rejecting that, but he is starting to catch glimpses of what he actually needs. After the 50% point, you have the bad guys close in. Now, if things were going up for your hero like they were for Aladdin, things are going to go down fast. And they do here for Aladdin, literally. However, if things were going down for your protagonist up to the 50% point, you want things to start going up here, like for Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games. She is now able to build some alliances. She finds out that both she and Peeta will be allowed to survive, and things go up for her right up until the climax. Now, before the climax comes, you're going to have my favorite beat point, and that is the plot twist. And so for Aladdin, if your character's been lying like him, this is the point when that normally comes out. If there's a shapeshifter, this is when you see their true colors. I love shapeshifters. We will talk about them later. But finally, everything starts to be revealed, and the last remnants of the lie are exposed. And the character has to face everything, which is going to bring them to the next beat point. The dark night of the soul. And this is an important beat of reflection before they can face the climax. Remember, there's the A story and the B story. But the B story is the internal struggle. And they cannot win over the antagonists or their situation until they finally have this time of reflection and face that inner change first. This is really, 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 really important. They must reject the lie and embrace the truth. Now, just to step back, if I were to take one of the Gospels, what point in one of the Gospels would be the dark night of the soul? And that would be Gethsemane. And it was the ultimate act of submission. It is the moment of recognizing the need for sacrifice. And in Christian books, the sacrifice wrestled with at the dark night of the soul is the sacrifice or the want of the apparent need. It is this act of repentance and choosing to lay desires down. The last vestiges of the lie have to be dealt with so the character can walk in and battle the dragon. The lie will not save them from the dragon. Only the truth will. Now, obviously, Christ was not repenting of believing a lie, but as our perfect example, he was exemplifying submission to that sacrifice. Because right before you come to the actual climax, there is an all is lost. And this is when there looks like there is no hope. So in the Gospels, this is when Christ died. And they didn't understand about the resurrection yet. And in your story, the stakes are impossibly high. There is appearing to be no hope. And there is often a death around this point. Many, many, many mentors die at the all is lost beat point right before the climax. So Sirius Black in Harry Potter in book 5, Dumbledore in Harry Potter book 6, Brom in Aragon, Gandalf in the Two Towers. But then there is this resurrection, and usually it's the hero or the protagonist rising up to take the mantle from the mentor and complete the mission, having learned the theme. And this is symbolically the defeat of sin and death, and there is a death and resurrection at this point in the beat points. A death to the lie and old desires, and a rebirth into the truth. And this is vital because the hero accepts the theme and rejects the lie, and he must accept the theme in order to finally battle the antagonist. And the antagonist loses the battle by rejecting the theme. And this is perfectly shown with Aladdin and Jafar. Aladdin tempts Jafar, and Jafar loses by rejecting the theme. He keeps grasping for more and more power until it destroys him. He asks to be the most powerful genie in the world, unwittingly asking for his own imprisonment. As Genie says, ultimate cosmic power, itty-bitty living space. And Jafar is trapped in a lamp, sent off to a cave of wonders for 1,000 years, or until movie 2. Which brings us to our final beat point. The hero has now learned the theme. And so in the final scene, you want a mirroring of the snapshot scene in scene 1. The hero is back to being just themselves, or they are back in their regular world. But they are not the same person because they have gone through this journey and they have learned the truth. In Lord of the Rings, Bilbo, he's just back in the Shire, but he's different. In Treasure Island, Jim is home from his adventure, but he has grown up. He has become a man. And now Aladdin is just Aladdin and not pretending to be anything else. He's not grasping, but he has his happily ever after by having learned the theme.